Please welcome Mr. Tom Wilson and Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Gentlemen, welcome again. Good to be here with you, as always. So let's just get to it. What do you think?
Sure.
Just start it right the heck off. I want to go back to the beginning, not the whole beginning, but you've talked both a lot about your auditions for the films. Once you got the parts, you have the script, and the script is a blueprint. And you have to develop your characters fully from that blueprint, from the words. Chris, where did you find Doc Brown?
I just felt that I am the guy. What's to prepare? No, actually, it kind of attracted me in a way because the whole idea of being somebody like Albert Einstein, you know, E equals mc squared, energy equals mass squared by, what was the other thing? Huh? Speed of light. Yes, the speed of light. Okay. And you know, which is in a very broad way is a simple, like, little equation that explains things that we can't even imagine, and describes how things function in untold ways, and that nobody had ever solved before in the history of man and women. And that just amazes me, that somebody like the gentleman who passed away recently, Stephen Hawkins, what a mind. Imagines how black holes work, for heaven's sakes. And that really intrigued me. I feel that's essentially who Doc Brown is. He's a guy who can't stop inventing things. And he is racing through his life, solving problems we can't even begin to comprehend. And all that energy creates a time machine. And I just feel that's extraordinary, that you know, people can actually do things like that. So that's sort of, and I felt he had, you know, he's racing through life, and all the time he invents this time travel, and if it's done wrong, the entire known universe will be annihilated. So he has huge responsibilities. He fears all the time, and he never quits trying to save the world and at the same time go further and further into the future. Now, that's a pretty good summation.
Tom, where did you find your inner bully?
Well, I'm sorry, I must have accidentally swallowed a ping pong ball.
thought that was your inner bully.
No, my inner bully didn't exist. So when I was auditioning for Back to the Future, so some of you might have been here on Friday. I'll repeat a little bit of it, but I'll try to do it in a different way. I was bullied a lot when I was young. I was very sickly and everything. I missed a lot of school, and I would come back and I would be beaten up by bullies. So I had seen them, but at that time that I auditioned for Back to the Future, I was very at that time they would call it an organic actor. I would just sort of believe it, inhabit the role, and just go for it and see what happened in the scene. When I first auditioned, as I told some of you with Crispin, in a sense, I was looking at myself when I was in high school. So that method of acting, that very intense believing in the reality of the scene, actually wasn't working for me because it was sort of upsetting me being that person and really taking that into myself. Do you know what I mean? How an actor would do it? So Back to the Future was the first time when I was really thinking about what I was doing physically, what I was doing vocally. There were two schools of thought, and now there are a million schools of thought of acting, but in my acting training, maybe when even Chris was training, there was internal acting, which was the method and that sort of thing, where you believe in the reality of the scene. That was credited to many American actors in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. There was external acting. Laurence Olivier, the British actors, which was looked upon as the first prepared, the clothes you wear, how will I carry myself, what will my voice sound like? So for me, I'm sorry, I had these, and when you do it, and you think, I don't care, they taste great, and you start eating them, and then you're like, I'll have some. I had a little bit of rice, so it's going to be fine. And then you end up in a large room of people being humiliated. Well, that's okay, it's my turn, whatever. I'm sorry it was amplified to that degree, I'll be honest. But, things happen, so deal with it, people. It was like the first serious answer I've given, and I got in the middle of it. But, so I was doing very external things, not to get all technical about it, but in thinking of Biff moving as a young person, I was thinking of a rooster, like a chicken, like that has this strut to it, this way of moving. It's actually a chicken inside, but it doesn't know it's a chicken yet. So it's moving your head, making my voice a little bit higher instead of my normal voice, which is relatively low, going up a little bit. Hey, McFly! What do you do? That kind of a thing, a trumpet, a more thing. So I'm doing all of these external things that were new to me. And then, and then I come to the set and they say, Tom, meet Eric Stoltz, but call him Marty. He's a method actor, completely internal. So I'm like, oh, okay, this will be interesting. So, but that was, look, that wasn't me.
It's Chris.
So whoever's pointing the most fingers, yeah, we all know. So that was at the beginnings of thinking about how I'm going to put these words onto, into a movie. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We're talking words. You added a few to the script, and you developed a character and found some things that weren't originally there.
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
I thought this guy is so dumb, he wouldn't get anything right. But the intensity with which he did things would sell maybe a great joke if he gets them wrong. So I'm not going to, there are young people here, but Biff was calling Marty McFly an unkind word. It rhymes with, like, if you're ice fishing, so you're looking through the bass hole of the thing to see the fish, and when you catch, it rhymed with that. And I thought, it's very simple, and it's understandable to call him that, but it needs to be dumber than that. even something weird. So I came up with my great contribution to American popular culture. I'm sorry, God!
A little bit difficult to really believe that this is be a coincidence. Was there an arrangement of some sort?
I think you've gone to the future and you're in the sound booth. Let that play with your head a little bit, people. What was the question again? I'm Michael, sir. Oh, so I came up with the term, yes, butt head. You're welcome, America. These kinds of things, I think, added to how I was doing it, because make like a tree and leave, I suggested, say absolutely seriously, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here? Just getting all these things, and that became, of course, I'll hunt you and shoot you down like a duck, all those kinds of things. So I was able to do that. And in one of the makeup tests, which made it to the script, I said, McFly, what's that kind of, what was your father, an Irish bug? So they put it into the script, McFly, you Irish bug. I also put in, if I may be so bold, they were writing the part where it's like Ronald Reagan, the actor? Who's the vice president? Jerry Lewis? I suppose this, and I said, and I just piped in like, who's the first lady? Jane Wyman, who was Ronald Reagan's first wife. That made it to the script. And I heard at the White House, Ronald Reagan apparently did get along well with Jane Wyman, God bless both of their souls. But at the White House screening of the movie, and the president is watching, Reagan administration, and they say, who's the president? Ronald Reagan. And you say, the actor? And the White House is cracking up. Who's the vice president? Jerry Lewis? Everybody's laughing. Who's the first lady? Jane Wyman? Silence. And everyone's watching going, is the president of the United States laughing at this? Okay, let's skip over to the next scene. But the president enjoyed it very much. Yeah.
Well, good for you.
Thank you. I have affected culture so greatly.
Well, while Tom was adding to his dialogue, Chris, you had quite enough on its own, and you had to do pages and pages of exposition explaining how this thing worked and what would happen if it doesn't work, and going back and forth. How does that work where you can spout all that dialogue in such a short amount of time?
Would you like to take that?
No, but while you're answering, I'm going to go, wah!
I really don't know, except I had to learn them. And, but they were so well written. I mean, the exposition about all this cockamamie science stuff made sense, and it was rational in terms of what the script, So Bob Gale, the writer, really wrote wonderful speeches that were easy to act, and given the character, Doc's momentum, the urgency, but everything, it all fit very well. So it made it easier to learn and to do.
But if I may add, as you guys know, I mean, it's very rare for a movie. You have a time travel movie. A lot of complicated stuff is happening. So one of the big stars of the movie has to actually have like a chalkboard or demonstrated to the movie audience. You see, this is what is happening. I was here, and then we were drawing a picture for the audience so that they understand. Okay, we're back to we understand what happened in the movie. Go on.
Yeah, no, that chalkboard was very helpful.
Yeah.
By the way, I can't not say it, but I had an acting teacher who I deeply revered and really had an effect on my life because I learned a lot about myself, etc. and his name was Sandy Meisner, and he defined acting as behaving truthfully under imaginary circumstances.
This is good explanation.
But Chris, I remember,
But what?
Uh-oh, he ticked off Chris.
we've talked about this before. You actually would memorize, you know, the scenes for the whole script at one point.
Yeah, I normally would, you know, like the week before, because it was like a shooting schedule, day by day, week by week. And so I could see the advanced schedule and decide that I want to learn that far ahead, say a week ahead, so that I have the lines a week ahead before the scenes were scheduled. And I don't memorize quickly, I have to go over and over and over. So I would do that, and then at the beginning of Back to the Future 2, there was some kind of accident that I wasn't involved in, but that happened on camera or whatever. Somebody was injured. You may know the facts about that.
It was actually during the hoverboard chase in Town Square.
Yes,
And
Cheryl Wheeler was,
Right.
was injured during that stunt. The stunt when Griff and all of his gang members go on their hoverboards across the water and then turn upside down and go through the window, the window of the future clock tower. Cheryl is fine now, and she's a wonderful lady, and we're friends, and she's wonderful. But if you watch, you can see her swing out because I think she was lighter than the other stunt people. So the stunt people are swinging on a crane, and Cheryl being lighter, it swings her, but the centrifugal force takes her out, and she hits one of the pillars. She hits one of the pillars of the clock tower and fell onto cement. So she was badly injured, but she was, well taken care of and doing fine now.
And in fact, we spoke to her not that long ago. She made a statement that she would still very much like to have a hoverboard.
Yes.
Well, when that unfortunate accident happened, the schedule was because they had to shoot around it or whatever, so the schedule was changed. And day by day was a different shooting each day from what the schedule said. And I was like totally panicked because I just didn't know for a while, day by day, what the next day was going to be. And I had, a lot of lines. So I just had to sit down and learn the whole thing from beginning to end so that whatever day they were going to shoot, I'd be ready to do those scenes. But there was a time of panic.
It's the nightmare of every actor, really.
Yeah.
You have whatever you have in the script. You have that big wedding speech. They say, well, that's 3 weeks away. And they come up and say, we're having trouble with the car, so we're doing the wedding scene today.
So did you memorize the rest of Back to the Future Part 2?
I think I pretty much did. I just said I got to do this. Things kind of settled down after a while, but yeah, I think I did.
That's incredible. Did you do 3 at the same time, or did you wait?
No, I didn't have a contract yet for 3.
Oh, okay. Good planning.
I think I'm correct in that. I'm just trying to be funny.
I'm not your agent. I don't know.
Tom, you made mention earlier of Mr. Stoltz.
Yes.
And method acting.
Yes.
And of course, we have to say from the start that Eric Stoltz is a fine actor, very talented man. Just approached the role of Marty in a different way that wasn't what everyone else wanted.
I think that Michael had
There's applauding.
Nope.
As I was saying. That, what was I saying?
You were going to add something germane about the Eric Stoltz question.
Oh, Eric is kind of a serious actor, and they needed a certain comic flair, comic timing, which Michael had. And they felt after 6 weeks of shooting and watching the dailies that Eric Stoltz was doing. I didn't know that anything was amiss. I did not. One night, after about 6 weeks, we were shooting all-night shoots at the mall there at the beginning.
Is Pink Floyd coming out soon? It's like Pink Floyd, some big blimp comes in.
I didn't know he was going to be replaced until the night that he was replaced. And it was very odd. Unusual situation.
Yes, I think that, look, I thought I was being replaced. There was some things that were a little uncomfortable, and then they sort of... I know you would have preferred Cheetah Rivera or something, but it was me. So I didn't know. I knew things were uncomfortable, and then they shut down the production, and then I got a phone call at home. Tom, could you come in? We'd like to talk to you. And of course, I'm a young actor thinking, oh no, it was me. I'm getting fired. So they called me in, and they said we've had to replace Eric. I think that each of us, in our own way, Chris, myself, Crispin, we're creating something larger than life. We're creating a fable, which is a part of the reason why I think it's a classic for all time. And people love it so much. We're doing physical things, doing things with our voice, making it into, that kind of timeless fable. And I think Eric's approach was just different. And they were watching the dailies and thinking it's just a different movie. And we need something a bit bigger and to match with what the other actors are doing, which ended up to be the case. And Michael came in, and ta-da!
But before Michael came in and you were filming with Eric, you had a specific experience where the method acting was a little more than possibly necessary.
I try to soft pedal this, and I don't mean anything negative about it here in 2018. But I just think that having your instrument, having your preparation, and having your approach, to me, is fine. And Eric had his own preparation and his own approach, and people calling him Marty, and all of those other things. However, it is a cast. So we have to be mindful of everyone else's preparation because we're coming together to make a symphony. So when you are trying to make a symphony, then my voice has to be heard also, and my preparation and what I would like to do in the scene. And I didn't find that taking place. And at that time, I was a young actor, so you don't say anything. Director, can I talk to you? I wasn't going to do that. I'm just trying to do my best, but I found that, to me as an actor, distracting to me, So Eric was in the cafeteria scene, the cafeteria scene, I'm talking to Lorraine, Crispin is there, we shot half the scene. We went home for the day, we came back in the morning, Crispin had cut his hair because he wanted to look in a different way for that scene. This caused a great commotion. You can't cut your hair differently in the middle of a scene. So that was a great commotion. So we'll figure out what to do with the Crispin coverage, and we'll do Tom and Leah. Okay, Tom, and I'm doing that. Leah, get your stinking hands off me, whatever. Smacking me, bam, in the face. Oh my gosh! Every time, my face is just swelling. It's red. They're saying, makeup, get the red out of his face. She's pounding him in the face. They're painting my face. Next take, bam. Okay, fine. Okay, we'll do Eric and Tom, because we're trying to figure out what to do with Crispin. We'll do Eric and Tom. I said, get your meat hooks off. And he's pounding his hands into my collarbones. You know, just bam! And I'm saying, Marty, because you had to call him Marty. Marty, it's really, if you push me a little lighter, I'll go back like this, and we'll do, because it is, you know, it is a scene. I mean, you're really hurt. You're going to break my collarbones. The next take, bam! Not listening to me at all. Bam! So I had huge bruises on my collarbones, two gigantic black and blue marks on my chest. And okay, we'll just be honest, we're at a panel. Who cares, right? Nobody will see this on the internet. So being honest, then, I was a young man, you know? I was a young man, and I was pushed around a lot in school, and I wasn't a bully. I was trying to be gentle and kind with people. But I pretty much thought, if you're going to pound me in the chest like that, the scene in front of the school where I pull you out of the car, I'm kicking your ass. Okay, you want to be a method actor? Great. So I'm a method actor too. I'm going to do a little improvisation. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then he got fired. Yes, they told me we've had to fire Eric, and I must say, my first question was, do you think I still have to call him Marty? So that's the story there. There's the truth. Your Fan Expo ticket was worth it, people. Eric Stoltz is back! So that's it. So that's it. As generously as possible, you are right. Eric is a talented actor who has his approach, who did his thing. There was a different thing happening on the Back to the Future set in the way that everyone else was preparing the things, and that thing didn't work out. Because I was Biff, and because he was trying to do a method thing of internally believing in everything, it made for an uncomfortable scene between he and I. That's all I'm saying. And God bless him wherever he is. But you're lucky you weren't outside that high school.
Well, once Eric left and went right back to the parking lot, in the same scene that you had been doing with Eric, you started doing with Michael. Mm-hmm. What was the difference?
I don't know if things just gel. You know, there was no, and it's been like that all the way through all of it. First, second, and third, Back to the Futures. We never had to work to get the chemistry going between us. It was just there. And our differing personalities, whatever, it just meshed. And it was great. Also, Michael had a much more mercurial kind of way with things. You know, he's fluid and going, quick, spirited, and witty. So,
How was he in the cafeteria, Tom?
huh? What?
He asked me how he was in the cafeteria. He was just fun. He was great, man. Michael and I got along very famously from the very beginning. It's the old saw of Laurence Olivier to Dustin Hoffman in Marathon Man that all the actors have heard. But if you hadn't heard it, I'll make it sure. But Marathon Man and Dustin Hoffman, in order to be exhausted, in order to be absolutely beside himself in this story, and he stayed up all night, and he just exhausted himself with running, and he shows up to the set, and Laurence Olivier, the grand elderly actor at that point, says, "My dear boy, it's so much easier if you just act." As Michael Caine says, the great fencing teachers trying to teach him how to fence and everything, he says, I don't have to know how to fence. I have to look like I know how to fence. So there was a lot. So Michael, being the actor of his experience, he had just come off of Teen Wolf. So I think he was quite happy to be on this major production and everything. So he was like all of us at that time. He wasn't the big star. He was, wow, movies and cameras and that thing with a Steven Spielberg, Robert Zemeckis directed movie. But he had a great ear for comedy. You know, he had a great sense of the physical bit. I mean, there are wonderful bits that he does. Wonderful bits. I mean, watch that movie and see when he's getting back into the DeLorean in order to go back when he's going to drive through the town square and be electrocuted. He runs across the town square, jumps onto the car, slides his fanny across the car, catches the door of the car, and gets in. I mean, it's really a feat of kind of physical comedy in a movie that's like what Buster Keaton would have done it that way. I mean, it was just beautiful, like boom, like that. That you just have to watch it a few times and say, look at what he's doing in that. So he had a great sense of physical comedy, a great sense of just where the line comes in, where the pauses are, and all those things. And so that was apparent right off the bat.
Because of all the craziness going 6 weeks and then having to refilm and bring in a new actor, when you're making a movie, you never know how it's going to turn out. You can hope, but Bob Zemeckis told me he was sure that his career was done after this. What was the first sign that you each had that Back to the Future was going to be a huge hit?
I don't know. I just I didn't imagine how the way things turned out, how it became such a endless hit, the way it is still today. It seems. I just hope it would be a great opening and that it would have a really good run, and it's still running.
Still running.
I remember. We all, I don't remember if you were there or not, but I probably were. We did a music video up in the San Francisco area, and it was an all-night thing with Huey Lewis and his band, and doing the music. And Huey Lewis it was just a job. They offered, let's do some music background to the film. And I remember some of us were sitting to the side while they were resetting the lights or something, and Huey Lewis just kind of walked over, looking at us.
I told you, rock and roll, Huey Lewis.
Wait for my punchline. Huey Lewis kind of came over to us, he said, is this going to do anything? I thought, what incredible, is this going to do anything? And it launched all of us.
Yeah. In movie making, there's a thing called a Walla group. This is a thing in post-production, the movie's done, but they need little tiny things like people's voices in a store, the people at the table next to you, just their little conversation. My friend is the voice of the tow truck driver driving in George McFly's car. So they do that sort of thing. Back breaker one, we got a thing of Valley, whatever. All those sorts of little interstitial talking. And my friend worked on many, many movies. Right? So he did the Walla group for Back to the Future, where they're all on microphones and they watch the movie and they just fill it in with little sounds and they bring those sounds up and down. He called me at my house. He says, you're in that thing Back to the Future. I said, well, yeah. He said, it's really good. I said, it is? He says, I watch everything. It's really good. Oh, okay, great. But then, Back to the Future, we had, it was long overproduction and everything. It was late. So they were trying to get it in. Back then, you sort of audition your movie in a way to the movie theaters. They went to screenings of the theater owners to see how many screens would Back to the Future have. They showed a black and white print. It wasn't finished because they were trying to work 24 hours to edit Back to the Future, make it ready. They showed the theater directors this kind of rough cut of it with some black and white things, and the theater owners went crazy for it. And they moved it up to the July 4th weekend. And then, you know, there are many, and then you're thinking, wow, that's a good sign. And then there was the first cast and crew screening where they invite industry members and everything. It was at the Academy of Motion Picture Theater and everything. They showed the movie, and the movie industry, is very famous for being tepid about movies. Oh, very nice, well done. I wish I was in that. Really good job. I would have done that better. You know, that kind of thing. Anyway, so they show Back to the Future, and the curtains close, and everyone is applauding. I mean, wildly applauding. Like giving it a standing ovation, going crazy. And so everyone's looking at each other like, boy, they really liked it. But they kept applauding throughout all of the credits. The credits roll, the entire crew, and they're still, and people are pounding you on the back. And that's what the first inkling was, maybe this movie is great, you know? Because people are like, no, it's a great movie, fantastic. And then when it came out, that July 4th weekend, Steven Spielberg was the cover of Time magazine. You know, the review, this is not a great movie, this is a classic for all time, all that stuff. Wow. They overcame Chris's weakness as an actor and made something. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you cut it in such a way. That's the miracle of editing, people. Cut it. And you go back to Tom's close-up just to make it stronger. We want people to see. We want people to love.
So true.
That was long-winded. But that was. I don't think at any time there was this, it's fantastic. I think it was this groundswell of growing. I think it's better than we thought. Because Goonies was the big movie.
Right, it was.
Goonies was the big production, pirate ships, waterfalls, everything. We were just that thing with the time machine car that, you know, that's over budget.
I think what's interesting, and I'd like to get your take on it, for two movies, you guys never appeared on screen together. And it took the Old West to bring you together. Was that a great change, part of what made part 3 a little more fun, that you got to work together for the first time?
Oh, no, I very subtle. I knew I'd get to Biff eventually, so I was happy to wait until the third.
In the first two movies, we were joking that there should be a scene where we're in the waiting room of a psychiatrist's office, just sitting next to each other. Yeah, but we finally got to act together right there in the town square. It was great. Oh, fantastic. It really was fantastic.
All right.
Fantastic. It was great.
Your turn.
Okay, well, I think we're going to get to your questions in a minute or two. But before we do, I'd like to ask if Tom would sort of preemptively answer a few. So,
Okay.
do we do that?
Do you mind, sir? Do you mind if I...
Oh, please.
You can put up with me for one moment?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Does this work?
Yeah.
No. Nope, too small. It doesn't work. Hold it, microphone. Hold the microphone. Microphone holder. All right, I just... The power of love is a curious thing. Makes a young man weep, makes another man red. change your heart to a more than a feeling. When I'm flying in a plane or I'm on the street, there's a lot of friendly people that I like to meet. They shake my head but never ask my name, and they start asking questions that are always the same. Oh, what's Michael J. Fox like? He's nice. What's Christopher Lloyd like? Nice. What's William Thompson like? Hot. Stop asking me the question. I went to the bar mitzvah of my nephew Josh. Now I'm not Jewish, but boogie on! Is the sound booth like a primate enclosure or Can we take your picture? Come on with me. Would you call my friend a butthead on his answering machine? No. Questions fill my head. I went to my doctor. My doctor said, hey Tom, what does a key grip do? Set up lights. What does the best boy do? Help the key grip. What does a producer do? I don't know. Stop asking me the question. Do you all hang out together? No, we don't. How's Crispin Glover? I never talked to him. Back to the Future 4, not happening. Stop asking me the question. Hey, who's the nicest famous guy you know? Matt Damon. Who is the biggest jerk? Gary Busey. How much money do you make? More than you do. Stop asking me the question. Yeah!
Now it's your turn, and let's recap. Michael J. Fox, nice. Christopher Lloyd, nice. No Back to the Future 4. We missed one. The manure is fake, right?
Fake manure, thank you. It wasn't fun, believe me. It was peat moss, steer feed, like lettuce, and this food agent that made it all sticky and wet. And then you get into the whole thing, and then they hose it down with a garden hose, just to make it wet and sticky. Fun!
All right, let's get a couple of questions out here.
Hi, I actually have one question for both of y'all. The first one is for Christopher. What was it like voicing Rasputin in Anastasia?
Rasputin, yes.
Yeah. Or how did you get the job, Rasputin? Sorry.
I loved it. Rasputin is kind of a legendary, evil, bad person that had a great deal of influence at the time in Russia, with the royal family, with Anastasia and the others. And he seemed kind of indestructible. My memory's a little foggy, but it seems they attempted to poison him, kill him in this way, and he had a way of just not going away.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you guys aren't leaving. Come back here. Come sit down at this table. He's answering about Rasputin. Hey, get back in here, man. Sit down. We're not done telling you stories. Get out here. Sit down. Let this be an example to all of you. I'll let you off with a warning. Let's not see that happen again. Unless you have to go to the ladies' room. Yes, we won't do anything. I thank you for your kind attention. And now, back to the stage.
Unbelievable.
They're children, Chris. Don't put it out. Don't make it louder. Use mine. I'm a classically trained actor. I don't need your little volume stick.
We're going to have to, never mind. What was I talking about?
I was asking how you...
I liked, enjoyed doing that.
And Tom, for you, how did you like being you were in an episode of SpongeBob where you voiced the Strangler?
I do a lot of SpongeBob voices.
Yeah,
a lot of voices.
but that's the one I
was Reg the bouncer, the Salty Spittoon.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
welcome to the Salty Spittoon. How tough are you? I was the Strangler. I was Victor, the bartender at the Thug Tug. All bubble-blowing babies will be beaten senseless by every able-bodied patron in the bar. I'm Patrick's fake dad and his real dad, and I'm Stinky the cowboy, and I'm a lot of SpongeBob things. Hey, as a guy who grew up watching cartoons, I've had fistfights in animation with Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Duckman, and SpongeBob. Yeah. Thank you. You know, what are you going to do?
Amazing. Just amazing.
Hi, Reg. Well, you got any bottle of ketchup? It's on.
Ah, very good, very good. I don't understand a thing about that, but that's good, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good.
So I got two questions for you, both of y'all. Okay, well, I'll just go with Christopher Lloyd then. Sorry,
Proceed.
you want to heal this, Mr. Wilson?
No, ask your question to him.
What was the question?
Okay, my question is, did you enjoy yourself playing Judge Doom on Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Judge Doom, Roger Rabbit.
Judge Doom, Roger Rabbit, Judge Doom.
What about it? Did you enjoy playing?
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah. Judge Doom, the way they had me look with the dark and the way with the hat, the whole style of the thing, reminded me that those cartoons, I don't know if anybody calls it anymore, of Spy versus Spy. The two crows. And so I really like the image. And it's nice being evil. It's taking that little poor, pathetic little shoe of blue. I like it. I've had people who have grown up say to me when they were children, when they saw that movie, it terrified them. All of that terrified them. And I thought to myself, when the Walt Disney films, the great first era of animated movies, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and Pinocchio, and the Bambi, and all those. There were moments in those movies that scared me unbelievably, nightmarish. So I feel if I've been lucky enough to do some of those scenes myself, it's payback. It's tough.
And I give Marty noogies, okay? He dips a poor weeping shoe into boiling oil. I'm a bad guy.
Hi, my name's Hunter. My question is, what was it like working on the movie Clue?
Clue.
Oh, I started out doing film stuff. It was early in that new part of my life. And so to be in a film with a cast, I had, all the names that were in that cast, wonderful, talented actors and actresses. I felt, wow, to be in the company with these people was very, very special. And it was a fun kind of story, running from room to room to do this and that and the other thing, and who did it and who didn't do it or whatever. It was a great experience.
Hi, my question is for Tom. I saw a stand-up special that you did a while back. I loved it. I want to see you do more of that. But my question is, have you ever been approached by, and would you ever consider doing Dancing with the Stars?
Resonates.
He's asking if I would ever agree to appear on Dancing with the Stars. And let me tell you, there's only one way I would do it. It would be a lot of fun. It would be a lot of fun.
I'm
So
very,
far.
very, very flattered.
So far. Why do you think I would make a good dancer? I doubt they would like me to do that, because it would be glorious. Until that one time I accidentally elbowed the young lady and she goes out a window.
But I think you're too shy.
You think I'm too shy? I need to just come out of my shell. Okay, the guy says I'm too shy. Stand up, sir. Show them your outfit. Okay, I'm too shy for this guy. All right. Yeah, he's a 101 Dalmatian man. Okay. Sure. I have problems. That guy who played Biff, he's weird. Honey, where's my Dalmatian suit?
This one is for Mr. Tom. So, on Back to the Future, how was it like to play multiple characters?
Pardon me, what character? Multiple characters. That's a good question. It was very difficult and sometimes confusing to play Biff in all of these different ages. So when I approached the sequels, we're going to the past and the future and the present, and then an alternate guy who was in a parallel universe. So really, it was confusing me. So I took the script and I got highlighter pens. Do you know what those are, sweetheart? They're of different colors. And I would make the highlight, like yellow for one character, orange, pink, and make them all different colors so I understood which guy was doing what where. And then I separated the script into various parts so that I could memorize the lines in the right way, as the right person, on the right day, and not be confused about it. But it was very challenging, especially the days where I was acting with myself in a scene. The Patty Duke Show, some of you older people would remember the Patty Duke Show, and she played her own cousin. But at that time, the camera would not move. It would just be a line. And they would say, Patty, you can come up to this chair, but other than that, don't go in there, because that's where you'll act in for the other part of the scene. Well, this was the first time it was used with the computer, where the camera could move along, and the camera would memorize all of its movements, going into a close-up and going this way, and then the camera then cut. And then the computer would make the camera go back exactly the same track, so that during the scene, that line would move, because they could, with computers, they could change the scene. So I would act the first part of the scene, and the computer would move, and they had a gentleman who was my size, who wouldn't say anything, but I could look into his eyes, just for the eye line of talking to the other Biff. And then everyone else would go off to lunch. I would go into the makeup trailer. They would take off that old makeup, make me up as young Biff, and then I would come back and do the other side of the scene with the same actor, but now down because he was the older Biff, and I would do the other side of the scene with an earpiece in my ear. Because of the movement and because of the changing nature of the frame, I didn't know exactly where I would stop and where I would move. So I would be doing the other half of the scene with Robert Zemeckis in a little earpiece that I wore, and he had a microphone looking at the monitor, and he would just go, move a little to the left, a little to the left, a little to the left, walk faster, a little bit faster. Okay, now deliver the scene now, next to the car, because he could see that I was acting with myself in order to match both of those things. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it was a very, very complicated thing. It was very new. They hadn't done that before, but so it was very challenging. Those days would take at least 18 hours, if not 20 hours, to complete one of those scenes. Because once you started shooting a scene like that in California, you know what they were afraid of? That you finish and you need another scene tomorrow morning, and there's an earthquake overnight. And it disturbs the camera.
It never matched.
Right, it would never match, and we'd have to start all over. So they said, well, we have to finish the scene, but in one day. We have to do the whole thing. So that's how those scenes. Does that make sense, Peter? Yeah, okay.
I think that was extraordinary.
I would like to know how you found out about auditions for the movie.
How did you find out about your audition, or what was the process of you being Doc Brown? Like, where did you hear about it? How did you agree to do it?
I was doing a little independent, low-budget film in Mexico City, I think, or something like that. And my agent called and said, I'm sending a script to read this new film, and we want you to come back and meet Bob Zemeckis. And I had decided just before that, you know, I'd been in New York all my life with theater, that I came out, but I didn't feel things were really working well in Hollywood. You know, I wasn't very confident about how things were going, and I thought, I ought to go back to New York, to my roots. I could get work there because I had some success with employment. So I took that script after looking through it very quickly, and I released it into the waste paper basket. That's not a great career choice. But and a lady that I was with at the time said that I never used to do that. I used to, whatever it was, wherever it was, if there was any chance that I might be appropriate for whatever part they were casting, I would show up and give it a shot. And I thought she was right, so I picked the script up, I read it, and I went back to Los Angeles and sat down and talked with Zemeckis for a while, and that was that. There's no way I'm not going to do this.
Tom? And I auditioned, did you hear the story? Anybody was here Friday? I'll make it a brief one, but I went through a long process of auditioning. I came in and auditioned at first because I hadn't been in a movie like that before. I'd been on television shows. I was an actor in a very special facts of life. A heart-wrenching Knight Rider. So I auditioned for Back to the Future, and I kept getting called back, where they call it callback, where they're thinning the group of actors, and they're trying to find out who's going to play this guy. What helped me, I think, was when sometimes they'll pair you up in an audition, and they'll say, okay, this Biff, act with that Marty, this guy, act with him, and we'll see how you pair up. The first actor that I was paired with was Crispin Glover. They introduced me to Crispin, and then we sort of acted together. Once I acted with Crispin in the scene, I didn't act with anybody else. We just kind of acted through all of the levels until the final audition for Robert Zemeckis and Steven Spielberg and studio heads and everything. And we just really, I just really went for it incredibly. They asked me to bully him, so I really bullied him, but I bullied him so hard that I forgot all the lines in the scene. I was so physical and everything, I forgot everything in the scene. So I put him down on the ground. I said, Thanks, that's what, and I think they're going to let me do it again. I'll do it again with the lines. They said, thanks a lot, Tom, thanks for coming. You know, okay, Kristen, will you stay here? Thanks, Tom. You know, have your parking validated, thank you. So, yeah, I had to run off because I was already late for a Bruce Springsteen concert that I had tickets to. But I thought I had blown it, so it was the saddest Bruce Springsteen concert I have ever seen. So I did that, but then the next day they called me and said, you got the part of Biff in Back to the Future.
We're going to have to wrap it up. We're going to have one more question, and I'm going to take that. Chris, I wanted to know, you've had such a long career, and you've worked on dozens and dozens of movies with some amazing actresses. Beautiful, vivacious, amazing women. Who for you was the most enthralling female co-star that you had over the years?
I don't usually like to, it's kind of funny about talking about things like this, but Jessica Rabbit.
Yes. Guys, thank you so much for coming.